July 20th, 1944, Hitler's Wolf's Lair is rocked by a massive explosion. For a moment, the Führer's reign teeters on the brink of collapse. But how did he survive? And who dared to challenge one of history's most feared dictators? This is the story of Operation Valkyrie and the men who risked everything to change the course of World War II. July 20th, 1944, a date etched in history as the day Adolf Hitler came closest to death. In a secluded forest in East Prussia stood the Wolf's Lair, Hitler's heavily guarded military headquarters. A bomb planted by one of his own officers exploded during a high-ranking meeting. For a brief moment, it seemed the Nazi regime might collapse. But how did it come to this? Who were the conspirators that dared to challenge the Führer? And why did their attempt to change the course of history ultimately fail? Today, we uncover the untold story of Operation Valkyrie, an audacious plan to overthrow the Nazi regime and end the Second World War. At the heart of this incredible story lies the bravery of ordinary men and women who risked everything in the fight against tyranny. This is the story of the July 20th plot. The year was 1944, and Germany's fate was crumbling. The Allies had stormed the beaches of Normandy, the Red Army was advancing from the east, and cities across Germany were reduced to rubble by relentless bombing campaigns. Within the Nazi ranks, some officers had grown disillusioned. They saw Hitler as a madman leading the country toward ruin. Colonel Claus von Stauffenberg, a highly decorated officer, had become the central figure in a growing conspiracy. Having lost an eye, a hand, and 2 fingers in combat, Stauffenberg's physical scars mirrored his disillusionment with the Nazi regime. He and his fellow conspirators, including General Ludwig Beck and Henning von Treschow, believed that Hitler's assassination was the only way to save Germany. Operation Valkyrie was their plan, not just to kill Hitler, but to mobilize reserve troops and seize control of key government institutions. Ironically, Valkyrie had been approved by Hitler himself as a contingency plan for suppressing internal revolts. The conspirators modified it to serve their own purpose. The stakes were immense. Success could lead to peace negotiations with the Allies. Failure meant certain death. Stauffenberg knew that his role in planting the bomb was critical. He accepted the risk, knowing the consequences for himself and his family. On the morning of July 20th, 1944, Stauffenberg traveled to the Wolf's Lair, carrying a specially designed briefcase bomb. Inside the heavily fortified compound, a wooden barrack served as the briefing room where Hitler and his staff discussed military operations. The meeting began at 12:30 p.m. Stauffenberg excused himself under the pretense of taking a phone call. He placed the briefcase near Hitler's position, ensuring the explosive was close enough to inflict maximum damage. Moments later, he left the building. At 12:42 p.m., the bomb detonated. The explosion ripped through the barrack, killing 4 men and injuring several others. Smoke and debris filled the air as chaos erupted. Remarkably, Hitler survived. The Führer had been shielded by a heavy oak table leg, which absorbed much of the blast. His injuries were minor, a ruptured eardrum and some cuts. Unaware of Hitler's survival, Stauffenberg fled to Berlin, convinced the assassination had succeeded. Meanwhile, the conspirators began enacting Valkyrie, mobilizing troops and attempting to seize key government buildings. But as news of Hitler's survival spread, the coup collapsed. By the evening of July 20th, the plot had unraveled. Stauffenberg and his co-conspirators were arrested. That same night, he was executed by firing squad, shouting, "Long live sacred Germany," before his death. The Nazi regime's response was brutal. Over 7,000 individuals were arrested, and nearly 5,000 were executed in connection with the plot. Many, including Field Marshal Erwin Rommel, were forced to commit suicide under suspicion of involvement. Despite the plot's failure, the July 20th conspirators became symbols of resistance. They demonstrated that even within Hitler's ranks, there were those willing to sacrifice everything for a better future. The July 20th plot was more than an assassination attempt. It was a testament to courage and conviction in the face of tyranny. These men and women knew the risks, yet they acted, driven by a belief in justice and a vision for a free Germany. Today, the plotters are remembered as heroes. Memorials and films have honored their sacrifice, ensuring that their story endures. While the bomb at the Wolf's Lair failed to end the war, It ignited a spark of hope that resistance was possible even in the darkest of times. What would you have done in their place? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe to Star Ghosts of the Front Line for more incredible stories of bravery and sacrifice during World War II.